Surprise, surprise, Abby Phillips from CNN was ready to jump to defend illegals. But who was ready to jump right back and defend so many of the things that we have voted for with these deportations and having legal immigration? Our main man, Scotty boy, or Scott Jennings as he's known on LinkedIn. And you're probably going to have the same face as Scott when you hear how this woman was just rambling and getting in her tirade about, oh, you can't call them illegals. It's SeanDaniel here, and if you guys love watching Scott Jennings go after all these CNN people, I like to call them idiots, consider subscribing. I have a lot of these videos coming out for you guys on a regular basis. Because CNN won't post them on their YouTube channel.
Americans say they want more immigration, not less immigration. Now, Americans say they want less border patrol agents, not more.
But is that legal immigration or illegal immigration?
What are you talking about?
It's a pathway to
hold on.
citizenship.
Let me read it again. 70% back a year ago supported a pathway to citizenship for immigrants who are in the U.S. illegally. That number is now 78%.
But does that mean put them at the front of the line or the back of the line? Do they have to?
There ain't no line.
Hey,
There ain't no line.
You can decide. You can decide.
Because there are people trying to come here illegally. They came here illegally.
Hold on a second. You can decide whether it's the front of the line or the back of the line.
It matters.
I think, yeah, but the point is, Donald Trump is basically carrying out a policy that says any individual who is here illegally, in an undocumented status, is liable to be detained and deported. Some of them with process, some of them without. And a majority of Americans, almost 80%, say we should give them a path to citizenship.
Look, I think it depends on how you ask these questions.
I mean, this question has been asked the same way. That's the reason I want to use this poll, is because this question has been asked the same way over time. And that's one of the only ways that we can make sure that we're looking at the same thing over time.
But I think there's a difference between people who came here illegally, broke the law, knowingly did that, versus people who want to legally come here and are going through the process that does take a long time. I don't know why you would take a population that broke the laws and put them at the front instead of putting them behind people who are trying to follow the correct process. Regarding more immigration, I think most Americans are fine with immigration. Legal immigration, illegal immigration, and the chaos that's come from it from the last 4 years, that's what they have a problem.
This is why we love Scott. Look how quick he is to ask such a qualifying question that points out really illogic in their argument. I don't know how Scott keeps track of these things, because I get lost in their arguments like I'm sure you guys do. We disagree with them, we know they don't make sense, but to find a little piece in something they're not covering and point it out like Scott just did right there, that's so impressive, and that's so hard to do with the pressure of being surrounded by a bunch of people that are ready to attack your every word. He's sharp.
Let me read a little bit more from what the judge's order said. It said the defendants may not rely solely on the factors below alone or in combination to form reasonable suspicion for a detentive stop, except as permitted by law. One is apparent race or ethnicity. Two is speaking Spanish or speaking English with an accent. Three is present at a particular location. And four is the type of work one does. We know from the reporting that the directive from Stephen Miller, who has been the architect of this policy,
who is a white nationalist,
was get to 3,000 arrests a day, and if you have to just go outside of a Home Depot and round them up, do so. And that is exactly what we have seen. And the judge is saying you cannot do that. You have to know who you're going after, have a reasonable belief that they're here illegally before you arrest them and put them in a jail.
I mean, what you're talking about is you learn that like the first year of law school. I mean, that's absolutely the law. In the federal law, it's the New York state law. You know, yes, you cannot just pick someone out and say, oh, look at the color of their skin, let me grab them. You can't pick them up on an anonymous tip. If I say, oh, there's a guy with a pink brooch, go arrest him, but I won't give you my name. You can't grab him. Yes, you can't grab him anonymously. Someone's got to. So yes, there are tremendous protections for American citizens. So now the question comes down to if a federal agent knows that this particular group of people outside the Home Depot, we have reasonable cause to believe, based on reliable evidence, like a confidential informant who says, everyone there, I could tell you because I've I'm a worker who hires them. They're here illegally. If someone tells them that, then they can grab them. But they can't just grab them because they're hanging out in the Home Depot.
What do you guys think about what he just said? Do you think that's wrong if ICE is going to do that? Or do you think it's right to maybe use some clues and go after these people? I think it makes a lot of sense. If you get some information, you know they're there. We would totally do that with other criminal things where people have broken the law, wouldn't you? You go investigate it, have probable cause, yeah. And she was, oh my God, she was hating it. She was begging for Abby to let her jump in. Because she's like, oh my God, how can you say that about a person who has rights and da-da.
Here's what DHS is saying. Tricia McLaughlin gave the statement to the Associated Press. Any claims that individuals have been targeted by law enforcement because of their skin color are disgusting and categorically false. Enforcement operations are highly targeted and officers do their due diligence before making arrests. So I want you to hear that, and then I want to play for you what Tom Homan said just this morning on Fox.
People need to understand, ICE officers and Border Patrol, they don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them. They just need the totality of the circumstances, right? They just got through the observation, you know, get articulable facts based on the location, the occupation, their physical appearance, their actions. Like a uniformed Border Patrol agent walks up to them at for instance, a Home Depot. And they got all these articulable facts, plus the person walks away or runs away. Agents are trained. What they need to detain somebody temporarily and question them. It's not probable cause, it's reasonable suspicion. We're trained on that.
So everybody heard that crystal clear, okay? Literally, word for word, their accent, where they work, all of that in his mind is enough to detain people. Just as a practical example, because we were talking about what happened at this farm, some of the individuals who are working at this marijuana farm were U.S. citizens. Some of them had work permits. We don't know all the statuses of all the people, but we do know some of those people were of mixed status. So in other words, you have ICE going in, and they seem prepared to really round everybody up. So if you're a citizen or you have legal status, you're liable to be rounded up regardless of that, and they will ask questions later. And I think that's the type of thing that the judge is saying cannot happen anymore.
Yeah, it sounds like, they're going to continue to fight this out in court. Obviously, the administration has a point of view here that's different than what the court said. I just want to go back to the thing I was most concerned about in reading all of this today, and that's that these little children are found on these farms. I mean, are we really saying here in the year 2025, well, we have to maintain the status quo of illegal immigration in the United States because we need little children to pick marijuana in California? It's like blowing my mind.
No, Scott, I think you're making a really, frankly, it's a very important point. I mean, the fact that young children, immigrants or not, are working on these farms, whether they're forced to because they have to make money for their families, or maybe they,
were brought here to do that?
Or for whatever reason. I totally agree that is something that we as a country need to address. But I think you have to acknowledge that there has been no effort made by policymakers, Republican or Democrat, to address the driving causes of that, which are the employers willing to employ these children. Who is employing a 16-year-old undocumented immigrant?
Yeah,
and
I
why
agree.
are those
I mean, one of the
being
farms
asked?
that was raided, I read, is even a Gavin Newsom donor. I think the governor of California should ask why you're doing these things. And I don't have a problem going after employers.
By the way,
I really don't.
I know you want to make it about California, but it's not about California.
Well, in this case,
there are more than a dozen states in this country allow children to work on farms. Who do you think those children are? Those children are more than likely going to be immigrants or undocumented immigrants.
But the cases we're dealing with today were
I'm just saying it's not a California thing. It's it's a United States of America thing.
And if we're so concerned about children, Scott, there are parents who are being kidnapped by this agency where their children are in school. There are parents who are being kidnapped by this agency whose children are literally dying. And so if we're so concerned about children, maybe we should stop kidnapping people while their children are dying and their sole caretakers are being deported by ICE. There are multiple cases where they are kidnapping people out of hospitals.
What does kidnapping mean?
It means a government agency has been given license to disappear people. That is what it means.
What does that mean? So you mean an ICE agent takes
Yes,
an illegal
We have
immigrant
to
into
squeeze in
custody?
we got to squeeze in a
Yeah,
quick
but you don't
break.
know if they're an illegal immigrant. That is my point. I don't use that term. You don't know what their status is. And so if you can just come and snatch somebody off the street and say you don't get due process, then that means I'm not a citizen. It is a disgusting thing that we're watching, and anybody who defends it is disgusting and despicable and deplorable when you see the horrific conditions that people are being kept in, and they don't deserve it.
We got to leave it there and squeeze in a quick break. We will be right back.
This is what you can hear from liberal women sometimes, being all emotional, ready to get charged up to defend these people about how wrong it is when she's really frustrated. Obviously at what's going on, she takes offense, so mad, but she's also mad that she slipped up and said the term that she's not allowed to say and she does not believe in saying, which is illegal immigrant. Take a listen.
But you don't know if they're an illegal immigrant. That is my point. I don't use that term. You don't know what their status is. And so if you can just come...
Oh, Scott, I'm going to tell you. Oh, get ready. See how they emotionalize things? Kidnapping, taking, while someone's dying. Who's dying? Scott's like, you mean take into custody for breaking a law? He's like, this is too easy. Get this kindergarten debater out of here. But I gotta admit, Abby Phillips does make a good point about the employers. Why are these employers allowed to hire illegal immigrants? That's a long-standing problem that was not just initiated with Trump. That's been able to go on for so long. But now the Democrat Party is going to make it their big thing because it allows them to go after Trump. It's not necessarily that they have this as a big concern, the right way of living, wrong way of living, right way of doing things. No, they're just going to keep going at it because Trump is now possibly going to allow these people to keep hiring illegals because it would just wipe off the face of the earth, the farming industry, and really mess up a lot of things because of all the crooked stuff that's gone on. Makes sense why Trump is maybe gradually going to get to that eventually. But it's not good that this has been the case and this can go on for so long because it undercuts everyday U.S. citizens and motivates illegals to come to the U.S. for these work opportunities. But if you notice how quick Scott is to politicize it and turn it back into, well, we're talking about migrants that got rounded up in California, which apparently the farm was owned by a massive Gavin Newsom donor. Man, he is slick because they have to pay attention to so many things on a panel like this where there's tons of cameras. They're getting cues from Abby Phillips over here on the right. They have to give space for other guests to be able to say things. They have some things they want to say. They don't want to trip up. They're on live TV. You know, it's really impressive the way Scott here keeps his head focused to try to make a point that's not going to put him in a corner, that's not going to put Trump in a corner. I mean, it's really impressive. And so was this guy over here, the lawyer, just explaining like, well, Trump knows some things that are going on, and they also can logically think through, okay, if there's a bunch of these guys waiting outside a Home Depot for a bunch of trucks to come by and possibly pick them up and hire them, maybe they're only standing there, not because they're legal status people who have the right to work, and they just want some extra side jobs for cash. No. This guy understands, hey, if they can, not Brutus in the back, but I'm talking about the lawyer over here. He makes sense. It's Sean Daniel here, and if you want to watch another video of our man Scotty Boy destroying and triggering a whole panel of CNN woke idiots, check out this video right here. He gets them going. I mean, the guy pulled out his finger. Look at that. Hey, hey, hey. And I'll see you in the next one.